Come and see. Come and see the community of faith. Come and see the church that I go to. Come and see the people who I call brothers and sisters. Come and see. You may not have used those exact words, but you have used them with friends, family, people you've known. Come and see. Simon Peter, Andrew, and many others, including you, called to be witnesses. Witnesses to a world that needs to hear the good news. The good news that has come and is received in Christ Jesus. You may have noticed the message is called Chosin Faith, and you may have noticed that chosen is not spelled the way you may have anticipated. Or perhaps you just passed right on by and didn't notice. Chosen. That's not correct spelling, is it? And yet it is. It's interesting to me how God plays with me at times. I chose the title of this message weeks ago. It was based upon what occurred between November and December of 1950 in a place called the Chosin Reservoir of North Korea. It's a terrible time of war with the Chinese and the United Nations. A group of Army, soldiers, and Marines were trapped in a place called Chosin Reservoir. Frozen ground like it is today. That's why the name was given. Bitterly cold. They found themselves surrounded. The Marines and the soldiers trapped with nowhere to go. One of the Marine generals said, "Good. Now we know where to attack." Because there's any direction they turned, there were the Chinese. They were there. And I thought about that with our church. The church in general over the years. Any direction we choose when we leave, any direction, we will find those who are opposed to us. Those who wish to push us away. Challenge us. We don't have to look far. We don't have to look far at all for people who do not want to receive the grace, the peace, the compassion, and the hope that we are given. Tomorrow we will be celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and the witness that he gave as a preacher, as the son of a preacher. It's interesting that prior to Dr. King's horrible death by assassination, roughly 2 months prior, he said, "Every now and then I think about my own death and I think about my own funeral, which I don't want to be long. I want someone to deliver a eulogy that says nothing about not mentioning my Nobel Peace Prize. Don't tell them to mention anything about all the awards that I've received. Only say that I tried. I tried to serve others. I tried to love someone. I tried to feed the hungry. I tried to clothe those who were naked. I tried to visit those who were in prison. I tried to serve humanity. I tried to leave something behind. The year was 1968. And I name that year because it's an important year for me personally. Not only was it the time that Dr. King was assassinated, lots of things occurred in 1968. A time of awakening for me. And in part came from a speech, a message that Dr. King shared. You've heard it before, the I Have a Dream speech that he gave. I want to share, in part, some of the things that he said that day in Washington, D.C. He said near the beginning of the message, 50 years ago, that is, score being 20, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation, President Abraham Lincoln. Later on in the speech, he said, when the architects of our republic, we're not a democracy, by the way, in this country, we are a republic. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note. Now is the time to make real the promises, to rise from the darkness and the desolation. And he said, to let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. I say to you today, my friends, that even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream that is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. This is what the church is called to do. From my perspective, from my experience. It is to give us dreams, ideas, and a sense of hope. We are to be inviting and welcoming. We don't coerce. We commend people. We give people. We share with people God's love and care. We don't impose, we invite. We don't wrestle or wrangle, we welcome. We don't threaten, or we do not tempt and tease. We don't lampoon each other. We love one another. The mission of the church, universal, all churches, the mission of all churches, from my perspective as a pastor of the gospel of Christ, is not to explain the Apostles' Creed or the Augsburg Confession or whatever might we've created in the past. It's not to ask people if they know that they're going to heaven. It is not to ask people to make a pledge. It is not to tell people to go to church down the street where they might feel more comfortable. It is not to judge people by their eternal destiny. It is to not judge them according to their race, to their gender, to their political allegiances, their sexual orientation, their taste, their tattoos, their choice of music. It is to invite them to come and see the love of God. Come and see. It was in the year of the Lord, 1968, that I first received a call from God. It wasn't the first time God spoke to me, but it was the year in which I recognized God's call, in the year 1968. It is interesting to me that it was in 1968 that the United Methodist Church was created and declared as a denomination. And it is now that we are in a struggle, are we not? It was in 1968 that the Spirit of God spoke to me in a mystical way, but also in a practical way by having a Bible arrive that I have in my office. It was the year that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. It was the year that Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. But it was a year for me to remember and to be challenged by God. It was a year that turned everything around. I remember Dr. King's speech. I remember watching it on television. 1968 was a watershed moment in my life. So many things occurred in 1968. I was able to reflect and look backwards on my life as a youngster, playing in the timber near our home. Before I began to recognize the presence of God. I remember going out into the timber. I remember playing around and finding bones that I imagined were dinosaur bones. I remember going in the fence lines and finding these all sorts of bones and skeletal remains. I was 7 and 8 years old, maybe 9 at the most. And my imagination was running wild and crazy, going, and I'd take them back to home and tell Mom and Dad, I found some bones. Do you suppose they could be dinosaur bones? They didn't discourage me from that thought, that imagination. And then in a gully just down from that hill, I found some even larger bones, and that really got my attention. Maybe these are the dinosaur bones. It was a horse. But I didn't find that out till later on. But what those things did to me was trigger an imagination and a dream and a possibility that my parents didn't take from me. They encouraged my imagination. They encouraged me to think. They encouraged me to dream. But it was in 1968 that all of those dreams and all those memories began to turn and to change. It was only 2 or 3 years later that I actually began to read some strange books on spirituality and psychology. One of the first that I started to read, and I still have a copy of the book I bought when I was 14 or 15 years of age, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections by Carl Jung, the famous psychologist. For those of you that have read Carl Jung, perhaps you would say it's pretty weird for a 14-year-old. Indeed, I was a pretty weird 14-year-old. I'm still kind of weird. But all of these things, my sisters and brothers, all of these things I want to say to you today. Because each one of us have been called. You've been called by God. I know you have. wouldn't be here if you hadn't been. Each of you have a gift or a talent, and many sometimes, to share, to give to the church, as a way of inviting people to come and see the wonderful pianists that we have today, and next week, and the week after. Different ones from time to time, yes indeed. We have Marion today, but next week, who knows what gifts we might receive. Or the ringing of the bells. Or perhaps an oboe. Or an accordion. Perhaps you have a gift for finance. Or for driving a car in weather like this when someone's not too clear on it, or get a little bit afraid. Or perhaps you cook a magnificent casserole, or a pie. Yesterday, Carissa baked a pie, which I'm going to have some earlier this afternoon. I'm sorry, I will not share. No, I suppose I would, but perhaps you sing or dance. Do you do carpentry work or plumbing work? What is it that you do that you can share and show and to give to the church? We need you. God needs you. Whatever way or whatever shape it might be. The gifts are not just something that Phil and I do by standing up here and talking. The gift of the church, the gift that you bring, it's all unique and different. It takes all of us together to be the church. To be the place where we can honestly say to people, come and see what we can do as God's people.